Good afternoon, everybody. It's Mike Nademan, Gretchen Upright, and Danielle Ruderman here for your monthly webinar for the month of July 2013. And today we're going to be talking about site design and how that can impact your conversion rate. So the main speaker for today is going to be our very own Gretchen Upright, who is in charge of all our project management tasks and is basically at the forefront after coming back to work after being at a conference last week of all the new things that are going on in usability and website design. So Gretchen, why don't you take it away?
Thank you, Mike. As you said, last week I was at a training session in DC put on by Nielsen Norman Group, who are the forerunners of usability testing. I took 3 classes. Human mind and usability was one day. Usability basic training was another, and emerging patterns in website design was the 3rd class. So I went into the classes that I took with both my Foster Web Marketing website hat, our users hat, and then DSS as an application or program. So it was very interesting. There were lots of different people there from across the country. There were people from Brigham Young University, John Deere, Vail, a lot, as you would expect, being in DC, of government sites as well. So they did a great job of presenting everything, and I have boiled down 3 days of training into a 45-minute presentation that relates to what our users are developing for them. So what is usability? Usability is how you use something. As simple as a scale, opening a door, a teapot, and they're broken down into 7 different items. The navigation, how to use something, how familiar the object is. If you step on a scale, you expect it to tell you your weight. The way that scales are being developed now, there's a lot of unfamiliarity with body weight or body fat, having different users, so then it becomes less usable to people the more difficult it becomes. There's consistency, error prevention, the feedback that people get from using the system, if they've done it right versus if they've done it incorrectly, visual clarity, which is the difference and contrast between buttons, background, text, and then flexibility and efficiency. When people go to use something, are there multiple ways of using it? Can they figure it out on their own? And then how is usability determined? Learnability. Do you need instructions? Can you use it out of the box? How many steps does it take to accomplish a task? For example, on our sites, a lot of our users have offers. How many steps does it take for someone to download that offer? When they use your site, can they remember from day to day how to use it? Is it completely different than anything else that they've ever used? Errors. How many mistakes do they make accomplishing their task? Are your error messages self-explanatory, that they can actually recover from the mistake that they have made? And then using your site or whatever you've developed, does it leave them with a sense of satisfaction? The biggest issue is when people make mistakes, they feel stupid, or if they don't understand how to use something, they feel dumb, and that causes their satisfaction to go down significantly. So there was an example of a coffee maker in a hotel room with a list of 8 steps, and the headline was, "It's easy to use." And you think to yourself, if it's so easy to use, why do you need to give me 8 steps with many, many words to use something as simple as a coffee maker, which many people use in a day-to-day basis? So calling something easy to use is when it's really not. is definitely causes satisfaction to go down. And why focus on usability? When people are on the web, they're doing something. They're finding an answer to their questions. They want to buy something. They are very motivated because they're there. They're sitting down. But you also have to remember that they have a very short attention span. They have but 1 minute, 2 minutes. They're doing it in between tasks at work. Their kids are hanging on them asking, what are you doing? What are you doing? So you need it to be very, very easy. Inattentional blindness. And there's a video, and if you Google it, inattentional blindness on YouTube with the gorilla. And we can send you the link to it. And I'll tell you the trick, but you can test your friends and family, which I did, and I found it to be entertaining, that there are two teams, the black team and the white team. You need to focus on the white team and count how many times they pass the basketball between them. You become so focused on the basketball and making sure you get the right answer of 15, I believe, that you don't notice a gorilla that you see right here walking through the middle of the group. And that is what we are asking users to do. That if you ask someone to accomplish a task on your website and there are so many other things going on, they may not see it. And it's not because they're stupid, it's because they are focused so much on what they want to do that they may even miss completely the flashing red button that says click here to solve your problem. You can't rely on people's memories. Sensory memory lasts 1 second. Short-term memory lasts 1 second to 1 minute, and long-term memory will last longer than 1 minute. But in order to get something into someone's long-term memory, they need to rehearse that to remember. So a 7-digit telephone number. It'll take a while for people to remember that. Way back when, we had forms that, in order to save space, we had actually put the name of the field within the text box. Unfortunately, my sensory memory probably wasn't even 1 second. So it would say first name. I'd click, get distracted, come back, and then completely forget what field am I supposed to put in there. Have to click away and then click back in again. So it's things like that. It's not that you're not smart. It's because that's as long as it lasts. So you need to be as plain and as simple as possible when people are using your website. When people do, if they're reading something, you need to chunk things up so that they can get back to where they were when they get distracted. You can guarantee they're going to get distracted. Embrace the obvious. Users should never have to ask, where do I start? Why did they call it that? What does that mean? Is it clickable? Where's the navigation? So you'll see many of our sites are very similar, and the reason is because that is what users expect. They expect the navigation bar to go across the top. They expect home to be first. Yes, all of our logos click back to home as well. So if you're an experienced user, you can click on the logo and it'll go back to the home page. But if you're not, you can also click to home and go back to the home page. There's some things that I question whether, practice areas. I know that we know what practice areas are, attorneys know what practice areas are, but do everyday people know what practice areas are? That's something that I definitely want to test to see if that is a learned behavior. What we do, cases we take, might speak better to our end users.
I think that's a great point with working with a law firm, is that you need to think about the terms that you use around the office every day, and you're used to calling things a personal injury case, you're used to premises liability, things like that. But when you're putting navigation on your website or talking about these things on your website, listen to the language that your clients actually use, because I will tell you from personal experience, until I started working at Foster, I never once uttered the term personal injury or premises liability. I can guarantee you that. So make sure that you're putting navigation items and words on your site that speak to the everyday user, and it's easy for everyday people to understand your website and get the information they need.
Right. As soon as they have a question mark over their head, kind of a bubble, then we've lost them. That's the don't force people to infer. Usability can improve conversion. These two forms require the same amount of information, first name, last name, and email, and that you agree to the privacy policy. However, this here looks a lot easier to complete than this one. So this optional information, even though it's optional, and you know it's optional, and I know it's optional, just seeing this initially causes people to perhaps click away. There's a currency on this type of information. People are willing to give you their name and their email address because they give that out a lot. That's easy for me to give up. Giving you my address and my phone number, the amount of trust that it takes for me to give you that information goes up significantly, because if I give you my phone number, you're going to call me. And I don't want you to call me. If I give you my email address, you're going to email me, but I can ignore you much more easily.
And I think the conversion is significant. We've noticed when our clients switch some of their offers to a shorter form, and so like Gretchen said, you're requiring the same amount of information, but you're showing fewer fields. People are really more willing to do that, and as you saw on the previous slide, it can increase conversion up to 160%. This is something you can try on your own website. You can reduce the number of fields that you're asking for and see if you actually do get more people requesting your offers or filling out your contact form. So it's definitely something you should try out yourself.
Right. And in DSS, we do have that. If you're using the DSS forms, infusion forms are a little bit more difficult to have to send us the code. But you can then select in DSS on the reports, books, and landing pages what fields you require and what fields show up. So you can just uncheck and check those boxes as needed. This was an interesting concept for me when we talked about the reward condition versus the reciprocity condition. Most of our, or I'd say probably 100% of our offers are, I will give you this information if you give me something first. Here's what the book is about, but I'm not going to give you anything until you give me at a minimum your name and email address. The reciprocity condition says, here's this information, and if you found it to be useful to you, I have more information, just give me your name and email address. The fact that you have given somebody something forces them now to owe you. You gave me something, I need to give you something back. People hate owing you something, so they will be more willing to give up their name and email address to you. They're twice as likely to complete that information for you. And that's the whole object, is to get their information so that you can continue to market to them afterwards. Excuse me. Second chance forms. Second chance forms ask people to give a minimum amount of information, bare minimum, name and email. You give them the information, and then you say, I've got a hard copy of this book that I'd like to send you. If you'd like to get it, obviously I need your address. So that way they can give you more information that they now trust you more because you've given them the PDF download already. However, you do have to give them that information. So if you promise them, again, the trust is there that you will actually do this. You need to give them a good reason, that it's going to be a book, maybe it's a DVD, maybe it's a suite of objects that you're going to send to them, a cooler, the book, the DVD, in a big shock and awe package.
Yeah, we built this functionality into DSS years ago because we found that people, again, as we've noted, people are willing to give you their name and email, so you can easily send them a PDF version of your book or your offer. However, if we do have a lot of clients who print up nice copies of their books, so you have a nice physical copy, and that's going to stay around a lot longer. But it is hard sometimes to get people to give you their mailing address, so this kind of allows you to try it both ways. First, you ask for their name and email, and you give them the PDF, and then you say, hey, if you'd like, I'd be willing to send you a printed copy if you can just give me your mailing address. And now people are psychologically, you already gave them a copy of the book, so it doesn't seem as though you're trying to do anything bad or scary or naughty marketing to them. They may be actually willing to give you your mailing address. Oh, hey, I would really like a printed copy of this book now that you've given me the online version, because me, I prefer to read. So that's another way. Everybody who gives you your email won't go on and do that second chance form with the mailing address, but you will get some people, and that will allow you to market to those people differently than the people for whom you only have their email address. So it's a nice way to kind of try it both ways.
Exactly. And also, throwing a physical book away is much more difficult. And on the same hand, it's also easier to hand to somebody else that may benefit from that information. Follow website standards. Don't be cute on the web.
Cute's for kittens, not websites.
If you're cute or if you're doing something outside the box, it makes it very confusing for people. And they have millions of other options. Their back button is always right there to go back to the search results and find somebody else or somebody else's site that they understand, that they feel comfortable with. So there's website standards that we follow, and these are just a couple of them, 5 of them. We have a laundry list, and I can send that list out also with the show notes for this, of general items that we do in fact follow. Show visited links as a different color. If the color doesn't change, people think, oh, let me click on that. Then they feel frustrated that they've already read that, because if it resonated with them the first time they clicked on it, it's going to resonate with them the second time they click on it, even if they've seen it before, because as I said, their attention spans are very, very short. If you have different items in your content that you're comparing, use a table. Makes it easier for people to absorb that information. Horizontal lines discourage scrolling. So if you have a table, don't make it go all the way across the page. Make sure it's a definitive sized table. Open PDFs in a new browser window. Let people know that this is a PDF so that they know what to expect versus it's a link and it's going to open it within the same tab.
That's a good point. That drives me crazy when I click on a link not realizing it's going to open some giant document that will take forever to load. I'd like to know ahead of time.
Exactly. The size of it, perhaps even. When I was at the conference, somebody, I believe from the FDA, said, well, if we have links off of our site, we're really reluctant to give our implicit approval of the website because we don't have control over it. And I realize that's the government, but by even just having the link, you are giving your approval to it because you felt it was worth putting on your site. So yes, let people know that they're going to be opening another site and why you feel that it is relevant. Keep up with the sites that you are linking out to in case they do no longer get your approval.
And also to make sure, run a broken link check on a regular basis to make sure that you don't have any links going to other sites that are now broken, because oftentimes other webmasters will change the URL or the site will disappear, get taken down, and now you now have a bad usability experience on your own site because of something somebody else did. So you definitely want to use one of the tools out there to run a broken link check once a month, every other month, whatever works for you, but definitely make it part of your regular maintenance.
And we can include, Zenu.com is one of the sites that we use to check broken links. It's free, it's kind of scary looking, but it actually does work real well. And don't break the back button. So when people do click on links, open it in the same tab, the same window that they are on currently. Nothing frustrates me more as when I am on Google News and I click an article and a new tab opens. I click back and it doesn't work because Google has opened a new tab for me. Power users, if they want a new tab, know how to open a new tab on their own. So this was definitely a point of contention amongst us foster web marketers. So that's the word from the usability experts. Branding. Consistency matters. Don't change the look and feel of your site from page to page. Frequently, people who are using Infusionsoft will throw the user to an Infusion-generated thank you page. It confuses users that now they are on a completely different site. They think they've broken something. They think that they've been hijacked. They panic over something being radically different, and you've lost their trust. Do not be creative. Sorry, people expect basic things to happen on a website. The fold, the elusive fold. Forget about it. It does not exist anymore. And for those of you who do not know what the fold is, it harkens back to newspapers and on the front page of the newspaper being above where the newspaper folds was better for your story because more people's eyeballs would be found on it.
And if you have any questions about any of the terms that we're using over the course of this presentation, feel free to ask us questions by putting the question into the question box that you can see on your GoToWebinar dashboard right there on the upper right-hand part of your screen.
So the new words that that were thrown around last week were phablets, laplets, tab tops. What are these things? And Danielle and Mike also thought I had made typos. A phablet is a phone-sized tablet. Slightly bigger than a phone, but not quite as big as a tablet. Laplet, that's a tablet laptop mixture, kind of like the Windows app, new machine. The tab top, similar. People have giant 26-inch Mac monitors. They have tiny little weeny 13-inch laptops. They have their mobile phones. They've got Windows phones. You have iPhones. You have iPhone 5s, iPhone 4s, iPhone 3s. There's no universal fold placement. There is no place where you can say, this is above the fold for everybody, except for maybe your navigation. However, your important items still need to go near the top. It's just no magical fold. That being said, since there is no fold, there is now infinite scrolling. Thanks to Pinterest, you can scroll forever on Pinterest until there are no more pins for you to see. It works much better to consume images through infinite scrolling, which is why it works well for Pinterest. They did a study that if there is no footer, people don't think a page is fully loaded. So even Google.com, they would have people visit it, and Google.com is only just a text bar and a button. There is nothing to do. But because they had no footer, people didn't know it was done. They would sit there waiting for it to finish loading. And the tester said, what are you waiting for? Well, it's not done. It's not done. And they would sit there for minutes. It takes less than a millisecond for Google.com. So now you'll see there's a little footer at the bottom to indicate just visually, it's done. You've loaded. So, as I said before, the footers are missing. How do you get people to the top, which is why you'll see on Pinterest, back to top, to send people up. Even people who are on iOS phones, if you're a power user, you know that you can just touch the top and you'll scroll immediately. But you can't assume that everybody knows what they're doing if you try and make it as easy as possible with the back to top button. Footers provide helpful navigation. There's the forms, there is another navigation bar, there are the addresses, sometimes people put their social icons down there. So it's one of the things that people are now combining them, and that's why we have our show more as well. You still get your footer, but if people are reading, they can show more and see the rest of your content. Testing your site. Doing a usability testing. It's not user testing. You're not testing the users. You're testing the usability of your site. How satisfied are people using your site? Are they getting their questions answered? Do they feel that you understand what they're asking? By them being satisfied using your site, you increase the trust. of your visitors. And because they trust you, they tell their friends, and other people begin to trust you. The more time that people spend on your site indicate that they're getting their questions answered, and Google tracks that. They will increase put your search in the search criteria, or in the search results, your site will appear higher in the results. I often hear from clients, my competitor site is doing so much better than mine. First, people will lie to you. They will tell you their site is doing really well, even if it's really not. So test your competitor sites. Ask friends and family to visit that site and to accomplish a task, or get their feel, because what you feel, you are not your user. You are you. You are a knowledgeable person about the topic. Ask people who are not knowledgeable, your wife, your kids, your neighbors. Ask them to look at your site, look at competitor sites, and see what they are learning. Do not copy people just because you think they are doing well. How do you know what to test? Look at your analytics. What pages are people leaving? And don't think that people are leaving off of your verify page because it's not working. Watch people use your verify page. A lot of spam bots get to the verify page, which says, are you really a person? And they leave. So take that one with a grain of salt. High bounce rate pages. People get there, and maybe it's a short page. Maybe it answers their question immediately. But then you can then have feeder information on that page. So watch people use your site. High traffic pages, but people aren't contacting you. Why? If you solve the wrong problem, it doesn't matter how you solve it, because people aren't having that type of problem. And you're an educated user, you know what you want to do, and it makes it easier for you. Who are your users? Are the people who come to your site new? Have they been there before? Do they use the internet on a daily basis, or do they only use Facebook? How experienced are they? How old are they? Teenagers are more willing to make mistakes. They blame the site versus themselves. Older users blame themselves versus the site. It may take them different paths to accomplish something, but they eventually, between teenagers clicking randomly all over the place and older people willing to keep trying because they know it's their fault, they will eventually get there. You want to make it easy for everyone to use it. Gender. Are women visiting your site or men visiting your site? Are they educated? Are they not educated? Are they blue collar, white collar? Are they nurses, teachers? How often, what kind of words are they using? You know, if people have been diagnosed by their doctor, they're going to Google what they have been told is wrong with them. Use those types of words. Use the generic words as well, the everyday words. Online habits and experience. Do they use Facebook? Are they very social people in interests and activities? What speaks to that? Defining your perfect client. You've heard Tom say this a billion times. Well, define your perfect client for your website as well.
And I wanted to say one point about the first bullet point here, defining your new and returning visitors. You're probably going to have a mix of these types of visitors if you're a law firm, especially if you are both trying to attract new business and if you are driving people back to your website through your newsletter or your social media. So you do have a mix of people who are brand new and people who've been there before. So you want to think about the user experience for each one. There's not going to be one that works for both. So, you know, your homepage should be easy to navigate for someone who's never been to your website before. Whereas if you're bringing someone in from social media through your email newsletter to a specific article, your call to action or what you want them to do on that page may be very different. So make sure you're thinking about how to address the needs of each of the different types of users that you get to your site.
Right. And that talks to the flexibility. If someone's looking for something, do you have a search box? Can they search there? Can they just go to the FAQ page and find their question and answer there? Giving them lots of different options of finding your information is helpful to that, to the new and returning users. How many users do you test with? 4 to 5 will get 4 to 5 people, not 45, will find 85% of the issues. And those are your glaring issues. You will find the other 15% by testing more and more and more people, but why? It becomes less effective. So test with 4 people, find your most glaring problems. Even if you have only 2 people to test with, you will find the majority and recurring issues with those 2 people. Best to test with your 2 people, fix the issues, and test again.
And one of the things that we've gotten into the habit here at Foster Marketing is every week we have a QA meeting where we go through all of the new sites that we're going to be launching over the course of the week. And everybody, it's a core group of about 6 people, and Gretchen heads the entire thing, and they go through each and every page of the site to make sure that everything is working as it should. And depending on what the page is, a different person within that group will always notice something new.
Exactly. And people search the internet differently. We have one person here who goes to the sitemap on every site that they visit because all the information is laid out. I never go to the sitemap, ever. So the way that you have to think outside of how you do things. That's why asking other people to help you with these things. Our designer looks at things and sees things differently from our coder. Our more knowledgeable users look at things much more differently than our newbie users. Older, younger. So yes, we are doing usability testing on your sites before we launch them, and we are going to be doing more of this in the future. How to conduct user testing. Usability testing, it's not user testing. Sorry about that. You want to realize that when you're asking people to do something, they feel that they are being tested, that if they are not able to accomplish it, it is wrong, something is wrong with them versus something is wrong with the site. So you need to explain to them that they are providing a benefit to you, that any suggestions that they have to make this work better is only helping you and your business. People try harder when they're testing something. So if you have them think out loud of, I'm not sure where to go, I'm going to try clicking on this button, oh, that didn't work, that's not what I expected. All the thoughts that they're having in their head helps you to think, follow their thought process. And if you record them, because you will forget what they say, if you record them, then you can revisit the issues that they had and if you've actually solved them. Also ask them where they would have stopped. If I wasn't here hovering over you, watching you doing things, would you have stopped by now? And let me know. I would have stopped. I'm going to keep going because you're here, but I just want to let you know. My mom did a test for AARP, and because my mother is opinionated, they actually gave her a bonus because she overshared, but that's my mother. And she was actually, they put a Craigslist ad out. You can get good and bad with Craigslist. Test one user at a time so people don't influence each other. Observe, don't answer any of their questions because you want to see how they solve their problems. Make sure that they give you their overall impression. Do you think you did a good job? Do you feel you solved the problem that I've given to you? And get their feedback on how they think. So we have website usability, and we also have content usability. Understanding how users read your content. There are 3 types. You've got normal people, speed readers, and skimmers. And most of us are skimmers, especially on the internet, because we're so much slower reading on the internet than we are reading in paper. Only 28% of the words are read. And your headlines are read, and your first sentence is read. So if you have bullet points, if you have your content broken up by headlines, it makes it easier for people to read and to get what they're looking for, get the gist, whether they need to read this later. I am a fan of Pocket. I pocket things that I don't have time to read so I can get back to them later because I got to keep moving. There's other stuff out there I need to read. Bolded words attract people's attention. Links attract people's attention because, this was so important that they had to link it. Let me click here and see where they went. Again, don't break your back button. Headers Make sure that they're easy, they're large enough to break up the content and attract attention. All caps is very hard to read and also indicates that you're yelling at people. They don't like that. Front load your sentences to make sure that you get their attention quickly. Audit your content. Adding content to your website is important, but also reviewing the content that you have currently on your site is important as well. Look at your analytics. What pages are getting hit? How many FAQs do you have? Are they getting visitors? Who's creating your content? Is it working for you? Can the content be found? Is there any SEO associated with this content? And is the content structured with metadata? And if you're using DSS, the answer to that one is yes, because we don't let you not do it. Be courageous and ruthless. Don't cut out all the extra words. If they're only reading 28% of them, make sure that they're really, really good words. Use content to build trust. We strongly recommend that you have testimonials. Strongly recommend that you have case results or case studies, but make them very, very descriptive. If someone gives you a testimonial and they want to remain anonymous, that's fine. Put in the words that they've given to you and then describe their case as best you can without giving away who they are. It shows that people trust you. It then reinforces to people that they've made the right decision. The same with online reviews. We have the ability within DSS to set up online reviews so that people can give you reviews on external sites, Google+, Yelp, Avo. Now we're getting into the new stuff, responsive designs. Last 2 weeks ago, we launched our new responsive design. It's our first foray into responsive designs. Although this morning I realized that actually we started responsive designs 3 years ago when we started with our mobile site. That is a responsive design. A lot of people with their mobile design have m.domain name. Google looks at that as two different sites. When you have a Foster Web Marketing mobile site, it is your domain name without the M, so Google recognizes that it is the same site. We detect that it's being visited on a mobile device and displays the information differently by doing that detection. True responsive, well, more extensive responsive design is actually built on chunking. So as you make your browser window more narrow, there are breakpoints that the navigation changes, the content changes based on that, the chunking of that. Our sites have a lot of visitors from mobile devices. So if you have a mobile site with us, you have the first foray into responsive design. We have tablet traffic accounts for about 10% of our visitors. On our default is we will display your desktop version of your site on a tablet. And mobile traffic goes up on weekends as people are out and about and away from their desk. New things are carousels. I call these scrollers, but the official name is carousels, and we do this. We have book and offer carousels, video carousels, badge carousels, testimonial carousels. Big thing is not to get overwhelmed with how many things are moving on a page. Allowing people to actually select one of them. So if you hover over one of our carousels, it'll pause. People will be able to stop it, read it. This carousel has to be slow enough that people can, in fact, read what is being offered. So we do limit the number of carousels that we will let you have on your site. Carousel came up to be more prominent because of the advances in mobile. It gives you the ability to show more content in a smaller area. And a new thing is toast. Toasts happen when I see it very frequently on people.com. If you go to an article on people and you scroll down a certain distance, all of a sudden something's going to slide up. Yes, I have advanced reading on the internet. And that it's articles that you might also be interested in, but because they move just as people are scrolling down to the end of the article, we haven't implemented this. We'll investigate how we can use it, but it shows you the relevant content at the point where you're ready to consume it. And if you have more questions and want to do reading, these are the items that I feel helped. Useit.com is actually by Jacob Nielsen, who is one of the principals at Nielsen Norman. It's very basic, but it's a lot of content stuff and design stuff as well. Boxes and Arrows, What Makes Them Click.net, and a great book, Don't Make Me Think, which you can get on Amazon. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Okay, so once again, if you do have questions, feel free to submit them in the question answer field in your GoToWebinar dashboard. And one question that we've received from several people is, what is the best tool to check links? You mentioned that a little bit earlier in your presentation.
Xenu, which is XENU.com, is a good site to use. It's very alien looking, and it may look like you are in the wrong spot. I believe it was created by a Dutch programmer.
Must be a very smart guy.
Indeed. I knew you would enjoy that, Mike. And there's, I believe, another tool on Mac that we can recommend as well.
There is a tool for Mac, and I can't think of it right now.
So we'll include that in the notes when we send it out.
Emily Corwin asks, where in DSS is the online review set up?
There is a landing page that we set up a special design. So Emily, what you can do is fill out a customer service ticket, and we will set up a special design for that page. You'll notice that in your offers, in your books, offers, landing pages, you have different styles of pages that you can select, and the design of that particular page will be reflected by selecting that. So go ahead and fill out a ticket, either through DSS Need Help button or by sending an email to tickets@frostwebmarketing.com, and we can make sure that your site has the correct design for that.
We have another question from Sean Alexander, who asks, could you discuss Toast again?
Yes. And actually what I can do, maybe, is pull up a Toast for you. Sorry, Mike, but that's what. I have to find out about the royal baby.
Well, I'm very curious about what Britney Spears is doing. So.
No, she's been okay. No, this article's not going to do it.
Let's just go on page and fix it.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's see if Kamara.
Cameron Diaz.
Oh, even better, Cameron Diaz.
Let's see. So you slide down. Maybe it's not going to. I bet the royal baby will probably give us some. So what they've done is they tie their articles, and since there's been a lot about the baby, as you scroll down, and of course I'll never find a page.
Well, it doesn't count right now. So basically the point is that depending on where you are on the page, you can change what displays in the sidebar. Is that the deal?
That's the deal. And I can include, I know that one of the items that I had seen yesterday caused it to pop up, but they're not using it on all their pages, so it makes it special when it does show up. It is an eye catcher, but you get down to a certain point, and then, yeah. And did you know that I thought you had to click on this closed window. You don't. You can just click away, and it will go away. There's a toast. Yay! This is a toast. So it pops up like toast when you get to a certain point.
I've seen that when I've gotten to the end of a story and the website knows that I've actually scrolled down and finished reading, it'll show me a related one. And I thought that was pretty smart because I'm like, oh, you know that I liked this one because I actually scrolled to the bottom of the page.
Exactly. It's a certain XY coordinate on this page that causes this to pop up. So that's toast. I'm glad I found one.
Emily asks, do you plan on implementing Toast this year on DSS websites?
We'll see. This year might be a little aggressive. We have to see. We do have related content. This is new functionality. It'd be a matter of how to do it and whether it makes sense for us.
All right. And Jean-Claude asks, I already paid some outfit in India to do backlink bogus blog placements, and now I wonder about Google Penguin. Is that some kind of Google blacklist, and do I risk being on it?
Yes.
You should definitely check out your backlink profile. You can probably have someone do that for you, or you can take a look using, there are a lot of tools out there. We use Majestic SEO that you can run a check on your website to see the quality of your links, but that's something you want to be mindful of if you're paying other companies to do backlinks to get links for you to your site. You need to be very careful who you're working with because there are a lot of cheap and easy ways to get a ton of really crappy links to your site, and it looks like you're going to think, oh yay, I just got 100 new links to my site, but they're all from these really horrible directories that have nothing to do with my business. So do be careful, and I do suggest that you find someone to look into that for you.
And Jean-Claude, if you would like for us to do a web audit on your site to check out some aspects that may have been hit by the Penguin, you can go to fosterwebmarketing.com and fill out the free web audit request form, and we will go about and take a look at your site and tell you if you've been shellacked by the Google Penguin update. Okay, last call for any questions. That's all we have right now. So I'll give you all another minute. Okay, if nobody else has any questions, we're going to wrap it up for the day. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Gretchen, thank you for presenting and doing such a great job.
Thank you.
And we hope to see you next month at our next webinar, which will be on August 20th, once again at 1 p.m. Eastern. So we look forward to seeing you all then, and have a great rest of your day and rest of your July. Take care.